Right. Apologies for the minor delays. So, it's been a busy week. We're back for another live stream, and welcome everyone. It's number 12 of the RatRig V-Core 3, and we're just about ready to go. It has been a bit of a week. Oh dear, we got that audio problem again. I even checked it. Before it started and it wasn't there. What about now? Are we there? Yes. Okay, start again. Welcome back everyone to another V-Core live stream. V-Core 3. RatRig V-Core 3. You still have an accent though. Yeah, that's not going to be changing anytime soon. So yes, it has been a very, very busy week. I've almost forgotten where we were at the end of last week because so many things have happened. We're not going to start straight away with the live stream, although it will be this evening. As long as the whole thing doesn't just explode in my face, we will be printing this evening. So very, very much looking forward to that. So at the end of last stream, we still had to do the bed PID tuning, the slicer profile, hot tightening of the hot end, checking the extruder direction was right, the fan setup, and the probe calibration. We also hadn't done the nozzle hot end PID. So, yes, that was interesting. So, that's where we left it at the end of last time, didn't we? We had this kind of 30-minute PID thing that just wasn't finishing. It seemed to have found some weird equilibrium in the middle of the test. It wouldn't get hotter and it wouldn't get colder. And we don't really know why. So the first thing I did was just start testing and probing things. And I found out that the thermistor seemed to be reading 10 times higher resistance at room temperature than it should have been, which is then odd that the temperature was reading anything sensible at all. So it may well be that we made our hot end very, very hot last time, and it wasn't actually the 181 degrees that it said it was, or something happened in between that finishing and that starting that caused it to break. Anyway, not really sure. Anyway, that thermistor was broken. So, new thermistor, tried again. I believe it's, what happened then? It still wasn't quite right. So the other thing I checked was the fan control. So there's with the Duet, quite handily, you can run different voltage fans to the main voltage of the printer. So if you use a 24 volt power supply, but you have a box full of 12 volt fans, you can use 12 volt fans. You have to just move the little header. And I think the default position for that header is in the 12 volt position. So all the fans were running at half the speed that they could have been. So I made the assumption that they should have been running at 100%. Switched that over to 24 volts. I also changed a little bit of the fan configuration in the config file. So that's a little bit changed as well. But now we have what seems to be a good PID tune. Obviously, there's a limited amount of testing I can do because I've not run any plastic in this at all. I dipped a little bit and then just past the extruder, nothing went to the hot end, just to make sure that it was pulling filament the right way. Oh, we've got lots of people. Good, 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 good. Bed PID tune, that actually went swimmingly well. I believe that one was right first time. The SSR worked absolutely as intended. The reason the heating up didn't work, I think it was just, it didn't have a PID parameter set, so it didn't know what to do. But as soon as I'd done the PID tune, put those parameters in, bed heats up fine, no problem there. What else did we do? Slicer profile. Now, slice profile is pretty weak at the moment. I've literally just kind of copied the one from the Prusa Mark III. So those are pretty much all the settings we're going to be using. I've obviously modified like printer geometry and the start and G-code kind of stuff. So I've tested that and it should be good. Fingers crossed. We might have to run through that beginning of the print more than once, but should be okay. Miguel, hello. Nobody can miss this, eh? Least of all you. So that was one thing we did. Probe calibration, what was that? Oh yes, calibrating the position between the tip of the probe and the tip of the nozzle. Obviously that distance is very important to the firmware in order to understand where the probe position is. That might have involved the bed crashing into the nozzle at one point. We got through it. And one thing that you may notice if you're more observant, although you obviously don't have a fantastic angle at the moment, is that we did unfortunately have a bit of a problem with the belts thing. So I think it's only fair that I show you the upsides as well as the downsides. So the fault is currently unknown. I don't know if it was something I did wrong or what, but basically this little part of the carriage, as you can see here, this kind of broke. So as I was getting things set up, the belt pulled out of here, so it just zoop, straight out the edge, and obviously this little part has cracked. So I've reprinted this part in ABS, the clamps for the belt in ABS, so it's an ABS Plus. I happened to reprint the shroud, probably didn't need to, but I did. And I didn't print the repiece in the middle. So all the black parts now, obviously other than the main Bondtech, the black bits, you can't really see very well from this camera angle. Let me see if I can... Trouble is, because this is obviously right in front of it, there's never a good angle. The angle of that angle is just not great. And now you raise it up. You can kind of see a bit better maybe from there. We got the spool holder done last time. Let's move this out of the way briefly. So there you can see this part's now black and you can't actually see very much more. I've also reprinted the fan shroud. That unfortunately, when I had the bed at 110 degrees Celsius for a little while and the carriage sitting close, it did seem like the shroud drooped a little bit, or at least it felt a little bit soft. So the fan was off, so realistically during a print maybe that wouldn't be a problem, but then with first layers maybe it would. I don't think generally, I mean they've obviously been printing a lot of the parts for these printers on their beds I assume, so it clearly works, but I was just a little bit suspicious, so I've printed it in ABS at the moment. So we've got this off here, so now we can ceremoniously turn the bed around for the very first time. That's facing up. That's looking pretty snazzy. So we've got this kind of nice gold textured build plate, magnetic, very nice. Everyone's ordering these Allen keys. Man, I should get an affiliate link for the Allen keys. In fact, I think I do on my website, but not here. People are constantly telling me they're buying these Allen keys. Oh dear. So we should have some start and end G code to do a prime here. So let's get the printer turned on. So let's run through where we are. Where are we? What are we doing? Duet web control, obviously that's going to be important. So pretty confident. I've done the homing and everything about 100 times now. I've adjusted those speeds to make them as fast as I think seems reasonable. If you get too fast, it seems that the carriage actually smacks into the end before the software has realized the end stop has triggered. So somewhere in the middle, the end stop triggers before it just kind of slams into the end. So it's reasonably quick, but not super, super fast. So let me just show you that. Hopefully this is all just going to work first time today. So obviously using Duet web control. We just hit Home Alt and we're off. Probe deploys in the middle of the bed. Beebity bobbity boo, boo 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 boo. That should just come up nicely. Bam. One thing I might also try today after we've done a print is to get the bed to do the weird, like really extreme wobbly thing, just for giggles mainly. I don't know, we'll see where we get to. So that's home all. We can do G32, should work fine as well now. So I've modified these positions a bit to give us a little bit more space in the corners. And it also goes the other way around, just because of where the homing and prime line I wanted. I mean, it didn't really change anything there because it's already level from the previous times, but you can see if we look at the console commands, you can see here at the bottom, lead screw adjustments made, before, after. So literally very, very, very small adjustments. In my setup as well at the moment, it doesn't do the mesh bed leveling each time. So well, I guess it's not really intended, but one of the things that I tend to do, I don't know if it's generally required, but anyway, the height map I load from memory each time, so it's the same, so you don't have to spend ages probing 16 points at the beginning of every print. I would personally recommend you update the height map occasionally, especially if there is a specific incident, like things crashing into the bed or excessive pushing or dropping it or something, or moving the printer around. I would probably recommend redoing the height map, but for me, it's just going to be as is. I still can't quite work out why one of the points isn't 0. This point in the middle is obviously the same, well, should be basically the same as the homing point. It looks a little bit different, 145 versus 150. So that should be the closest points to 0 because that's where the Z home is, but I don't know, it's still very, very flat. So I don't think we're going to have any problems somehow. So that's looking pretty good. In terms of configuration, the extruder motor I had going the other way, so that's been flipped. Other than that, I think I've mentioned everything, so... Oh, didn't really need to do that, but okay, we'll reset. Yeah, so as Detlev says there, just trim the bed before each print and the stored mesh will be fine. So yeah, you do the lead screw leveling, so it trams the bed to be as square as it can, and then the mesh obviously defines for that sort of flex in the bed of fractions of a millimeter, which for us should be absolutely fine. So I think what we need to do now is slice a print, isn't it? That would probably be a good thing to do. So we need to get a print. I'm not sure what we should print. Benchy gets, I suppose we could do a Benchy. It gets a little bit boring, doesn't it? But people like the old Benchy. I might already have an STL. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, I do apologise. Don't know how do I have. Gonna have to download the Benchy. Well, you can find 3D Benchy in a lot of places. Oh yeah, someone did suggest the EVA 3D. Pavel, can you give me a link for that? I made you a mod just now, which I don't know why I didn't do much earlier in all these streams. Could you give me a link? I believe you should have permission to do links as a mod. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Mikhail's not cube. Okay, it is a cube, but it's not. It's not a cube. So this is what we're going to be printing. It's not cube. Not. Isn't there? There's a. Yeah, there's Pavel's not cube. So there's a not cube and a not cube. That would have been a prime opportunity for a Rickroll. But I probably also have given Pavel mod because I don't think he would do that. So let's get that download. Ta-da! A very little cube. So as I said, the print settings are very similar to the Mark III. So obviously until I've tested anything more, that's what it's going to be. 0.4 nozzle PLA. Are we going to print? So the materials I've got two. I figured we should probably print in green, shouldn't we? So I don't have the green, but I do have two different greens, although I mean they look a little bit different on stream to what they do to me. This one looks really weird and yellowy, and this is the PETG, or we have this brighter green, which is PLA. So which should we do, the PETG or PLA? PETG or PLA? Or PLA or PETG? What does one think? I'm thinking PETG. It's a little bit more exciting than PLA. It's kind of a weird colour, but it is technically green. And I think it'll be, as I said, a bit more interesting than printing PLA. I think especially with these texture beds, PETG tends to do a little bit better. I am conscious of the angles and stuff that we're going to have. So like all the cameras are just nowhere near where they really need to be. So I wasn't planning to do this on stream, but I do need to tidy up a bit in order to move everything. So all the tools and stuff I've used for hot tightening. I've got some 30-30 T-slot nuts as well. Ooh, the slicer config. Maybe I'll do that. I don't want to try and do that now. Thank you though. Or maybe I will. How do we load configurations? That's we'll switch the filament to, oh, I hate this compatibility thing on this. It's so annoying. Recall PETG, and then the 0.3mm fast Prusa slicer config from the bundle. Cool, I think that'll be good then. So we're not using Prusa config, we're using Pavel's config, because he's obviously used it quite a lot more than I have. I mean, there shouldn't be much in the terms of anything too challenging in this print, because it is just a cube. We're going to need to do some preheating, aren't we? I think I also want this up here maybe. Right, we've got all the angles, so many angles. Move my rubbish out of the way. Getting a bit flustered. Things left, right and centre. Just want to get on with it. Come on! Get on with it! Anyone know that one from Monty Python? The old, get on with it. So, getting a bit more tidy. Let's move this out the way. Got a bunch of my notes on there. Okay. So, going to be able to see me even less, but I don't think anyone needs to see me anyway. So we've got a view from above, so you can check. You'll be able to see kind of the movement speed from that direction. So I need to do preheat. Ooh, I'm just getting so excited and carried away. So let's bring, I've lost me, so for preheating, why have we lost home? Oh yeah, because we did a reset, didn't we? Let's quickly do that. So to preheat, we can do standby temperatures, which would just set it at something which is useful. Something now, I guess. You can also kind of set it to do it at the end of a print if you know you're coming back very immediately afterwards. Personally, I tend to not use standby and I only use active. Oh, we should have a look through this profile maybe as well. So where are we doing PETG? Let's go straight to 235. And bed will go to 90. I mean, I only do 85. Filament settings. So we're 230 and 240, 85 bed going up to 90. I don't think you can zoom in. Prusa slicer. Oh, that's weird. Why can you see that? What's this? Oh, it's another one of that. This is getting confusing. So professional. Right. Oh yes, top camera's gone weird. Apologies. Turn off autofocus. Okie dokie. So those are both heating up nicely. I'll set that back to 230 because that's where the print is starting. Everything's looking good at the moment. Nothing smells funky or anything weird. Go get some tweezers out for getting the first filament through the hot end. Where's my tweezers gone? I've lost my tweezers. Bam, bam, bam. This drawer is the biggest embarrassing mess ever. I really hope you can't see it because it's absolutely tragic. Here we go. There's like 10 side cutters because every time you get a cheap 3D printer they give you cheap side cutters and I can't bear to throw them away. So they all go in the drawer and now I have loads of pairs of rubbish side cutters. Anyway, let's move the bed down a large fraction. That's sounding a little bit... Might have to put some thicker grease on those. They're sounding a little bit tight. Right, we should be good to go on loading filament. Now, I've noticed there's this little clip down here, which I presume is for filament to go through. It seems a little bit odd, because then presumably it's designed to go... Probably got to put the thing on the thing. And that barely goes. So presumably we do that through there, and then that's going to go there. Yes, this is the problem with this spool. Did anyone catch that? I think it's probably even, it just doesn't need the bearings. I think the design is good. Just the entire thing without bearings would be absolutely fine. Because I feel like as soon as, I think we're okay, maybe? Maybe I just tugged it a little bit too hard. It's all going. Right, I think we need, this is what if we just do it up less? Yeah, now it's gonna, I think that's gonna be a bit better. That can slide off each way. It's got to go over in like steps now around the 4 parts of the thing. Tighten the nut. There's just the lock things, the locking rings at the end. There wasn't an actual... I think you'd have to put a lot of load on those bearings to stop them rotating. Uploading G-code to this is quite easy. In fact, I've not actually tried this before, but I know it's a thing, so... Oh, it looks like we need another... I don't know what that is. Okay, well, we won't do that. We'll just do it the normal way. So I'm going to slice a file. I'll export it to our stream data folder. And then we can upload from the stream data folder, find the cube, boom. And it's already started. I forgot to prime the filament. Oh, silly me. Oh dear. Let's try priming the filament again. Extrusion, 10mm at 5mm a second. Reduce auto acceleration or disable it. What auto acceleration have you got in it? I'm not using your printer settings, only the actual print settings. So there's not, or is it? This looks kind of normal. We'll give it a go, won't we? And we shall find out. So that's all squidging out of there nicely. Let's give it a small retract. Oh, that was retract of 10mm. That was a mistake. What I'm meant to do is 1mm retract. Should just stop too much of the, it's going to ooze quite a lot in that. Plenty of oozy woozy. Right, okay, let's get on with it. I think we don't need to home before we start, so we'll just go to jobs. So this is the one we uploaded. All your jobs, print jobs will be here. Gives you some data about it, as well as normally like a successful or not successful. Doesn't seem to now. I believe if we just click this, then it goes. So we're getting plenty of ooze out the nozzle, but we do have a prime line in my printer G-code, start G-code, so that should, well, we can get it there anyway. And we're off. Filament's coming out okay. See if I can get you a lower angle with this camera. Oh no, you can see right in there. That looks absolutely smashing. Don't look now, but it's printing. I mean, do look, because it's printing. The motor makes some weird noises. It's very cold as well. That might not last for long. Not sure what my belt tension was like. Hopefully I remember to sort that out after the slight rebuild. First layer looks absolutely smashing. Shame I don't have more zoom on this lens. I want to get you nice and close so you can really see. How can we do it? Oh, very carefully. I mean, it's quite difficult to get right. Because I've got it on autofocus for ease. It might end up changing focus a little bit. It's better than having moving bed though, isn't it? When the bed only moves vertically, it looks like we're over extruding at least, well, a fair portion actually. Oh, there we go. Oh, now the camera is just in the middle of the shot and right over my face, but there we go. Good that we're finally printing. Yes. My head is the spool. So we got hot end fan, seems to be... The pot cooling fan has not started yet. I believe that's going to be a few layers and then start, so hopefully that's going to work in a moment. So as you can see, the Duet interface, Duet web control gives you a really good overlook of everything that's going on. It's pretty fancy. Layer times, warm-up times, slicer predictions, file times, job information on the total height, filament usage. M73, is that one of your specials, Pavel? What's M73? Let's have a look. Oh, set print progress. Oh, it should support print progress. That's weird. That's one of mine then. I set up in the configuration that it could support that, so maybe it just needs to be enabled. I'm not going to lie. The printer's looking a little bit mushy. The part cooling fan is not running at all yet. So it looks like I've just looked up in the Duet 3D G-code dictionary, M73, set remaining print time, accepts parameters of P and R for percentage of the print that has been completed, which is the P parameter, and the R parameter being the remaining print time in minutes. So I don't know. I mean, it says P is not used in RepRap firmware, so maybe it's only providing a P and not an R. So we'd go, every time it provides one of those, we're going to have a console that shows it's not enabled it, showed it. But so let's go have a look at the slicer to see what's happening with the print cooling. Cooling. 50% will produce no less than 50 seconds are spent. Estimated load time is greater, but still below 20. Fan will run at proportionally decreased speeds. I think maybe we're not getting anything from the fan. The corners are curling, yes. In fact, the whole thing is looking rather mushy, if I do say so, and not in a good way. Yes, we can, there you go, here I can, yeah, I don't know how much you can see from your angle, but from my angle I can see that it's not a very good print. Not gonna lie, it's a bit of a mushy blob. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Where were we? This one? I don't know if this. So these two DC fans, I did notice, with as I was setting up and trying things, they are very noisy with PWM. The PWM noise is super high. I tried changing the PWM control rate, but it didn't seem to be particularly great. So the cooling fan on the front runs at 100%, so that's not PWM controlled really. It's just on whenever the hot end is above 45 degrees Celsius. But the rear part cooling fan, obviously you need to be able to increase or decrease fan speed. And with just a 2-pin fan, you're relying on PWM control, and this one doesn't seem to enjoy that very much. Makes a whole lot of whizzing and wobbly noises. Whizzing and wobbly noises, that's very non-scientific. It beeps a lot. Oh, a different fan duct. I've reprinted fan ducts multiple times already. You know what, Simon? I wish that we had like really good contact with a electronics manufacturer, so I could just be like, 3D printing people want this. Can you go make it, please? Because there's quite a few components which just like this that would be super useful. But nobody makes one. Like power supplies. I'm pretty sure we could have more optimal 3D printer power supplies. The safest variant, so the wide and high. I'm guessing this, so I'm just looking, everyone, at, where was it? Wide and high. A different variant of the cooling duct. I don't know if we want the normal or the angled. The one, yeah, the design is the one that shipped. I reprinted it in ABS, but I'm happy to give another one a go. PC power supplies are alright, but they're 12 volts. And nobody likes 12 volts for control electronics like this. Generally, higher voltage better. No one makes a decent 5015 blower fan. Well, gosh darn it. You know what's going to happen. Prusa are going to come out with this new fangled fancy fan, aren't they? That's what they always do. Well, always. I think they're quite... Let's stop talking about Prusa, eh? A purpose-built power supply is something that I think we really needed for a few years. Something that provides multiple voltages, has suitable connectors, provides decent power consistency that's like not noisy, and is actually rated for proper use in households and consumer electronics in UK, Europe, etc. Also maybe one with more useful connectors than screw terminals. Screw terminals are good, I guess, but I'd rather have like clicking in ones with terminals and stuff. The cooling ducts got different variants, as there were weird results for some people. Those were riding too close to the bed, so I made more options. Yeah, I mean, mine is really, really close to the tip of the nozzle, I'll be honest. That's why I reprinted. The PETG one just drooped a very tiny fraction, and it's already kind of going. This one, the print maybe was a fraction warped, and that's caused the tip to dip a little bit. So ATX 24, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know if they. I mean, ATX standard is just for computers, is it not? In which case, I believe their next move is the 12VO, which is where they only output 12 volts from the power supply and everything else is done in the motherboard. Let's download both of these and chuck them in the slicer and see what it looks like. That's... How do we print those? Oh, so clearly it's not the angled one, because angled is not... Yeah, it's definitely not that. So is this one we want? That's obviously not going to print successfully, is it? So we're going to have to either support material or this face, but even then I think... guess that's the orientation, isn't it? That's the ticket. Prim. This is the... I've made this area a little bit thicker on the modified one that I've done so far. As you can see here, even on this, it doesn't even complete the circuit. And when you print in ABS, small layers, I mean this one's probably not so much, it's quite a decent sized layer. You get a small layer and it can get a little bit mushy. But then I suppose you can solve that just by printing more of the same thing. So in production it's actually not so much of a problem as it is when printing one-offs. Which is kind of weird, but that's the way it is. Again, I kind of want to print this out of ABS rather than... I tell you what, we're not going to... I'm going to do this one on the Preheat in different material. Infield's probably not going to matter too much. I'm going to stick this probably up to 4 parameters because it's right by the hot end. So. Going to make this part basically solid, I think, apart from maybe right down here. Yep, it's all just entirely solid. Really, really nice. Well, it's actually a fairly easy print. Maybe I'm not saying all of it. But I just realised we forgot the sponsor thing at the beginning of the I'm so oopsie daisy. Right, we've got 2 minutes to do a sponsor message. The printer will keep printing, so you will miss a little bit, unfortunately, but it's going to only be 2 minutes, so we'll be back in no time at all. Almost no time at all. So a quick 2-minute video from our sponsors. This live stream would not have been possible without our sponsors, RatRig, Duet 3D and 3D Printz. The Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus balances value and performance. It's focused on small and medium-sized machines for those that want the quality and reliability of a Duet control board but don't want the high price or high power output of the full-size Duet 3 mainboard. The Mini 5 Plus provides 5 onboard drivers and the normal complement of heaters, fans, I/O, etc. There are Wi-Fi and Ethernet variants with the option of using a single board computer, like a Raspberry Pi, for control, in the same manner as you might with other Duet 3 boards. 3D Printz is a UK-based filament supplier, but in recent times have become so much more. They're now a great destination for finding name brand components from all over the world, such as the Anklab's BL Touch, Wham Bam Systems, flexible build plates, 3D Gloop, Magiku, Bondtech, Slice Engineering and more. If you're in the UK and Europe, and maybe further afield too, you might want to check out their shop for your next printer upgrade. In the UK, you'll also be able to take advantage of their free shipping for orders over £50. RatRig is a company that you may not have heard of yet, but if you're into DIY 3D printers, or camera sliders, then we're going to change that today. The VCore 3 is a fully configurable CoreXY 3D printer kit. It's gone through several iterations over the years, and all the knowledge and lessons learned have been distilled into the V-Core 3. MGN linear rails, low vibration idlers, robust 3030 extrusion frame and 9mm belts are just some of the key selling points. Today I'm looking at the 300mm cube default configuration, but it's also available in 400mm and 500mm cubes for those that like their printers big, and with lots of configuration options too. Keep watching to find out more, or if you need more details immediately, you can find the links in the video description. Right. Oh, no, that's supposed to be this. Huh? What's the two now? Did I change something on this? I added a brim. It does very much print. I think you'll probably see a little bit better from that shot. Now that it's twice the size rather. 4 times the area, but twice the dimensions. You can see like really down here in this corner. Oh, isn't it good to have a printer running? Oh. First time as well. I mean, it's not a perfect print. We're not finished yet. It could still come off the bed. But I think we're pretty good there. I'm very happy. I might not sound it because I'm also very tired, but I'm very happy. I feel like we probably should do a benchy as well. Let's do benchy as a second print. I reckon we've got time for it, even if it's not a full-size one. Didn't I download? Files, 3D benchy. Speedboat bench. I really don't get the fascination with trying to print benches as fast as possible. It just seems wholly impractical. Oh. So I'm just going through settings for the second print. Obviously you can't really see this very well, I'm sorry. I've changed the fan speed, so we turn off auto cooling. It's just going to be 50% but off for the first 2 layers. Everything else going to be largely the same. Although it could be interesting to just try one of the Prusa profiles. I think we're going to do that. 15% infill. How long does that take? Right, Pavel's given me a list. He's given me a list of jobs to do. Better write them down. Where's my list? I don't want to show you that page. Job number 1 is more cooling. Too mushy, e.g. too much heat, therefore more cooling. Check the belt tension. Could be a bit wobbly, so it's spending too much time in the areas where it shouldn't be. 3, each step's calibration. Extruding a little bit too much filament maybe into those layers, making more thermal energy than it needs, as well as more plastic than it needs. And maybe also then pressure advance. Oh, one thing I probably should have got from your settings, Pavel, is retraction, etc. What's your retraction stuff on? So Z lift is a little bit higher than what I have. It looks like Pavel might have got his settings from the Prusa one as well. They're very, very similar. I guess they're just kind of standard really, aren't they? Same amount of retraction. My lift is a little bit lower. That's the only difference. I mean, this could definitely be here. The new duct looks like it's coming along swimmingly too, although I'm not sure I should be using that for a view. Seems like cheating. Tell you what, reviewing a machine like this is going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult. Not that I want to make my job seem more difficult than it is. That's not the point. But normally you can be quite objective about things because you're given specifically this, you do this, and you get this. Whereas when you have a kit, it's a little bit more, how much of it are you supposed to be able to do yourself? How much are you supposed to expect, how much of that should be perfect, how much should be it's enough to get you started, becomes all very difficult. Of course, I'll do my best to reflect that, to give you all the best information I can. The print is also a little bit stringy, but that could be down to the fact that this PETG has been sitting around for probably a year and a half or more. So, no, this is a 300 millimeter. So 300, 300, 300 for the build volume, although the actual machine itself is near a 500 millimeter cube. Get some measurements if you like. I think we did this before. So 570 deep. From the table, it's 540, and then obviously with the spool, it's much taller. And the width is approximately 510. It looks bigger on camera because my room is really tiny. So the camera has to be close, and even the widest possible angle doesn't really help. And I can't, the main camera which you see in the bottom right corner is a Logitech Brio webcam, which runs off a USB-C cable, and it's the longest USB-C cable I have. So I can't get it any further away, even if I wanted to. What we might be able to do, I've not tried this before, it should have a wider angle setting, although it doesn't necessarily work. No. Yeah, the 500 mil, I mean, just imagine you could literally, on the 500 mil cube, you could almost print this size machine within the build volume. That's absolutely stonking build volume. I personally, if I had, not that this is a reflection on the design intention or how you should use things or anything, I really like the idea of having a 500 by 500, but only like 100 mil deep. Because if you're printing, I mean, I print smaller parts far more often than I print large parts. So you could have like 4 or 5, 3 or 4 maybe, stacked on top of each other for the same height, and then you just have more extruders in the same area. I just a bit silliness really, but I think it'd be quite funny. Yeah. First builds are coming in on the Facebook group. None of them are the same. It's funny, isn't it? People just need, I guess, that kind of bit of guidance and a kind of design to work towards. Once they get 80% of stuff given to them, they want to do the rest of it themselves. $500 by 200 in production. That's quite cool. If you ask anyone with a print farm, though, they'll tell you if you want to get more parts out of your print farm, you don't do that by getting bigger machines and putting more on the bed. Ultimately, the one thing that will dictate how many parts you can feasibly print in a given day is the mass flow rate of plastic out of extruders. So the more hot ends and extruders you have, the faster you can print your parts. Obviously, if they're large parts, you only have one extruder per part for consumer stuff. So if you're printing 10 small parts, they're going to print much faster on 10 printers all at the same time than they are on one printer kind of simultaneously. So on a print form, smaller printers with more hot ends and extruders, much better than big printers. Obviously, you do also, of course, have to consider how much attention those printers need. And I don't mean like cheap printers with rubbish components keep breaking. I mean, if you have a very small printer, even if you fill the bed with parts, it still might only be a 12-hour print, which might not sound like much, but if you have 50 printers to attend to, and each of them only 12 hours, that's 50 beds in a day that you've got to manage. And obviously, as your print farm grows with more printers, then you got more problems. 5 of those in our farm as of this week. 500 by 500 by 300. That's pretty cool. So that'd be the same height as this, but absolutely stonking wide. 700. That's absolutely. Oh, I can't. Blooming huge. Blooming huge. What was I saying about print farms? Yeah, so you have to have a kind of balance point. Obviously, if you had a really tiny bed that was like 100 by 100 and you could fit a part on there, but you can only print one part at a time, you'd be constantly getting new parts and you have to constantly physically go to those machines to deal with them. Unless, of course, you have a completely automated system which pulls the part off and starts a new one, then obviously that's different realms. You can get all sorts of fancy then. V-Minion. I didn't even know the V-Minion was a thing until after this one arrived. I guess maybe it wasn't a thing. That's maybe why I didn't know. The V-Cast as well does look pretty cool, doesn't it? Disgustingly huge. Yes, James. It's disgustingly well organised and disgustingly huge. I don't know why I use that word to describe the cable management. I can't even remember quite what I said now. Something like disgustingly tidy. It's so contradictory. Disgustingly tidy. You could always just cut your Z extrusions and rods to pancake it. Z hide mod is what is sort of the easiest here. I could. I mean, I'm not going to. Probably. I don't. There's no reason to cut a printer down. I don't think. Like if you've already got it this size, cutting it in half or thirds doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It'd be a lot of work to do. It doesn't save you any money because you already own all the things. Please use those words on the review. I'll do my best. Mikhail. He literally just arrived for the point that it finished. Cutting rails, yeah, because they're so hard. Nothing will, well, I guess stuff that's very abrasive or diamond. You have to get stuff that's harder than that steel. I tried to cut through some threaded rod a while back. And I thought it was soft, cheap stuff, but it wasn't. It was really properly hardened. It was a blooming nightmare. So right, we're planning to probably do a second print. This is quite hot. Don't know how easily that's going to let go either. We might be here a while letting it cool down. I need some like oven gloves so I can take the bed off while it's still super hot. I don't think I have any heat-resistant gloves to hand. That could be a cool little thing for 3D printers, couldn't it? Some heat-resistant gloves. Or, you know, patience. Either one works. Oh dear. I want to get this out without burning my hand on the side of the bed, or arm even. I kind of want to flex it, but I also know that the bed's going to be really hot at the moment. It's quite a thin bed, this. It does look like a box. It's still quite warm. There we go. I think we're a little bit close to the bed. Maybe not, it's just stuck really, really well. It's a really massive skirt, that, as well. Oh dear, this is like pushed right into the bed surface. Right, give me 2 seconds and I'll... Oh. That's sort of on, should be... No, too much. There we go. Right. Right, I can definitely see a number of things. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see on the stream, but let's give you a little go. And you can shout out anything that you see on the print that maybe we could do with tuning. Oh, no macro lens today. Are we going to make it? I'll get by with a little help from my friends. I don't know why I started singing, I do apologise. So, I mean, you've got to bear in mind we're on the studio lighting here, so, and it's quite harsh lighting as well. It is a bit ringy. Yeah, those lower overhangs had no fan, so I think we can sort of expect that to have not gone super well. I think I'm going to go for a little bit of a tighten on the belts. I'm not sure I made them quite as tight when I redid the assembly as I did the first time. That's almost guitar string now. I've tightened the belts. Yep, this is the default kit. Ringing, slight over extrusion, lower layers cooling, and a little stringy. Yep, I am inclined to agree pretty much with that. Seems like a pretty good assessment. What you can't see is there does seem to be some very tiny little holes in the corners around here. So like in the, it's difficult to point. On the indentation of the Y in that inside corner, There seems to be some little holes. The ghosting is definitely noticeable, but we can definitely get that tuned probably a little better. I'm going to go for a benchy now using the Prusa profile just to see if that profile is a little different. I think we can also try reduce the extrusion rate. I'm not going to do it by E-steps at the moment. We're going to do it via cheating. So, didn't I have the... There's a Prusa, a benchy. So, oh no, we modified it. Here we go. So we've got 50% constant cooling. We're going for the 0.2 quality Prusa profile. So it will look pretty different because it's going to be lower layer heights as well. I think this is going to be about an hour. An hour and 23. That's not as quite as fast, I would say. What if we do 0.2 speed? 19. It's 9 o'clock now. That's kind of too long. We're going to have to scale it down, unfortunately. An hour and 4 minutes. We can probably manage that. So we're going to heat this back up again. Again, just upload. Oh, I guess we can just go for the upload and start. 3D Benchy. By the way, everyone, don't forget to leave a like if you don't mind. That would be super fantastic. Just click the likey thing below the video and subscribe. I mean, if you've been watching these multiple times already, then you should probably subscribe because it's probably useful. There's lots of other live streams. So this is obviously number 12, obviously the one where we're actually using the printer. If you want to know all the details about all the setup, all the building, the unboxing, a little bit more about all the individual parts, all of that kind of information is included in all those live streams. So I guess a lot of it you can maybe listen to as a podcast and then come back to bits that you want to see. But there's plenty of hours, plenty of good information there if you're interested. So we're going to, let's leave the Z baby step. I don't think we need to worry about that. And we're going to take this. I think some of the G-code might reduce this by itself already, but change visibility. Huh, cool. Part cooling fan in there as well. That's pretty nice. Some filament oozing, that's almost at temperature, that's almost at temperature. It should start to kick off again soon. Let's see if we can get this camera in decent angle so you can See that initial process, and we'll zoom in. Plop. So it starts with just homing all the axes, probing of course in the middle of the bed, safest place to do your probing. Bloop. And then it's going to go around 3 points starting over here, and it's going to readjust the lead screws, although this is very unlikely to need a change since the last print, since it hasn't even been powered off. And now it's going to do a purge line, just to kind of prime the nozzle. Splooge out a nice bit of filament, and we're good to go. It's benchy time. So, Mikhail asks, what's your acceleration at? So this print is going to have quite different settings to the last print we did. The last print was Pavel's settings, or some general starting settings. That was this one. Acceleration, where is acceleration? I always forget. I don't know, are these coming through? I don't know if those are going through in firmware. We can double check the, oops. Firmware accelerations. Default accelerations are 3,000 millimeters per second squared. What does the Prusa profile do? Prusa profile? Much lower. Oh, that's not good. Why has he stopped? Why has he stopped? Why has he stopped? Printer paused. Heater fault. Oh dear. Oh dear. Hot end fault. Is it just... Oh, it's the 50% part cooling fan. Oh, darn it. It is, isn't it? Oh, no, it's not going to home. Shoot. It's just about warm enough. Definitely need better lubrication on my lead screws. They get a little bit noisy when you move them too much. So hot. So, do we have, would you look at that? This is a sock. He's literally just sitting there waiting for me. I'm not sure if it was, I don't think it was the part cooling fan though. Was it? Maybe it was. I'm not sure this is going to fit. I'm a little bit concerned also about burning my fingers in the process. Am I putting this on the right way around? Yeah, it goes this way. Do as I say, not as I do. Don't try and fit a hot end sock while the nozzle's baking up. It's not a good idea. Now, this is one of those socks that actually doesn't fit super well. I think we're just about on there. Give this another go. Oh, it does get warm sitting next to a printer that's just chucking out heat like nobody's business. Is there a setting in here about the updating print time? Supports remaining times. And it's M73, P percentage and R remaining at 1 minute intervals into the G code to let the firmware show accurate remaining time. As of now, only the i3 Mark III firmware recognises M73. Also, the i3 Mark III firmware supports M73QXX, SXX for silent mode. Default mode, false. So the support remaining time says it's only on i3 Mark III, but RepRap firmware does support it, so weird. So I'm not sure. Where's that print that I threw off? Did I chuck it straight in the bin? Yeah, I don't think we got to a layer where the part cooling fan even turned on. So we could be running at a bit of a risk here. Right, let's have another go. Part cooling currently 0, temperature looking good. Part cooling 0. Let's see if when it kicks on. Check that it's not turning the heater off after the first layer. Would it turn the heater off after the first layer? Why would it do that? If that's configured wrong, has it done that? I've not seen that before. I guess it's possible. Because heaters and fans come off under similar control in the Duet, don't they? not super detailed. $235, $236, $237, $238. It's rising. It's hitting the 240 that it should be, and the bed's up to 90. No part cooling yet. Oh, these lights are burning my eyes. I need to wear sunglasses, the lights are so bright. Right. Oh, the tool fan is at 50, but part cooling fan says 0. What the hell is tool fan? I think my numbers are not quite correct. That's part of the problem, perhaps. The numbers on the fans. Maybe, I mean, I did have some problems with the fan configuration. It looked to me like it wasn't working correctly, so I did modify it, but maybe I misunderstood something and have modified it now to the point where it's wrong. Well, this one called part cooling fan is something that's configured in the firmware, so I named it part cooling. Did you work out what was wrong with that exceedingly long PID tuning from the last stream? Well, I noticed two things. One that I just mentioned, that the fan configuration didn't seem quite right. And there's a little jumper on the Duet board that allows you to have 12 volt fans, so I moved that up to 24 volts so they can run at full speed. The thermistor also seemed to be reading totally the wrong resistance, miles out of what it should be, and so it could have been that those temperature readings were just all over the place as well. So the original configuration and current configuration I've got in here, well, it may be something that I've done wrong here, but here you can see the changes I made to the fan configuration. I did also move them to different pin outs. So because they're only 2-pin fans and they were occupying a space for a 4-pin fan, I thought maybe I'd move them to 2-pin slots, seeing as they're not 4-pin fans. So that's why they're 3 and 4 moved to 5 and 6. And I think they were also labelled the opposite way around to how Duet expected them, but maybe I've misunderstood something there. Because in the Duet thing, it said Duet recommends F0 for the print cooling fan and F1 for the heatsink fan. So F0 Q500 goes to P0 hot end fan, which is not the print cooling fan, and then F1 C out 4 should be recommended as heatsink fan, and here is used as layer fan. You can also PID tune Duet with fan on and fan off. Well, the default M303, when you do the tuning command, it does 4 cycles. So it does heater off, it does the cool down speed, and I believe it repeats it with a heater on and heater off. It's something like that. But not with a heater on, heater off. With the fan on and the fan off. So it is PID tuned with the fan running. Oh, this print looks much, much juicier, by the way. Much, much juicier. Me likey. Oh man, it's warm. We've got 140 odd people though. Welcome to the few people that have not made it. Maybe we just got everyone during the streams that's kind of, we've had dribs and drabs of people and they're up to 141 concurrent. That's pretty good. Welcome everyone that's not been before or not been for a while or not been back since something. Good to have lots of people here. Do you think you'll end up adding the top or lid that RatRig are now doing? It depends if RatRig send me a top or lid. If they send me a top or lid, then I guess I'll probably fit a top or lid. I think this printer needs a full set of ABS parts and total enclosure and a lid. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Just setting up a live for a redeeming cube print. It's just this. Don't worry, we're not going to leave everything looking bad. It's all good. I mean, first print is on. So this is the thing, right? No matter how good or bad you make your printer mechanically, 90% of the end result is in the slicer settings and the tuning. So however good your printer is, there's a high probability that the first print, especially without completely custom tuned profiles, will be rubbish. That's just how it is. Slicing profiles and settings are so incredibly important to the final result. YouTube lives just going absolutely crazy. Every few minutes, it's just like, oh no, there's 31 people. Oh no, there's 150. Oh, we're not really sure quite how many people are here. It's so bad. 20% machine, 80% slicer. Yeah, at least. Like a perfect machine can still put out garbage prints if your slicer settings are not great. It's just, that's the way it is with 3D printing. This is looking absolutely lush. Pardon my catching up, but did you go with the BMG and V6? Can't quite see in the video. Yes, my friend, a BMG and a V6. This is the default configuration. So if you want to know anything about what is on or configured in this machine, hopefully somewhere in the link in the description, not only will you find my code, which gives you 25 euros off and gives me a small kickback too, so if you do buy one, that would be very cool. But you'll also see the exact configuration I have here, the default configuration. So that will be the configuration as reviewed, if you like. I didn't want to, the reason we're going default configuration is I didn't want my choices of components to impact the performance of the printer, if you see what I mean. So if I'm picking the parts that I think are the best, then what am I reviewing here? Am I reviewing the printer and the design, or am I reviewing my own choices? I need to review what RatRig thinks is best, or what RatRig's default configuration of their machine is. So that's why we go default configuration. So they basically chose everything, and I do the review of their choice, basically. Hopefully that maketh some sense. I missed the start of the stream. What material is that PETG? I think you already know, James. You know. It is PETG. And you know the brand. I printed a fine looking bench yesterday in 12 minutes. To be honest, I'm getting less and less happy with Prusa Slicer over time. Sometimes it's great. Like if you're just using the Prusa machines, it is still great. But as soon as you want to configure other things, oh, it's such a pain. It really is. Tell you what, this print is looking. If it keeps going like this, we're on for an absolute banger. Oh, it looks so good. Hello, may I know where you get the hot end? Chris. Where? I bought it from E3D. I'm in the UK, so E3D parts I buy direct from E3D. It's an E3D V6. Yes. PETG. Of course you know where it's from. As soon as you see, you know exactly where that stuff's from. Who needs labels anymore? My fastest and looking good bench is 23 minutes, but on an end of 5 with Marlin. Maybe I need to get into this fast benchy thing. I just feel like there's so many more people with so much more time that are going to just do much better than I will. I assume you didn't do the ADX L345 tuning. No, this is not a RepRap firmware thing, is it? I don't believe. I did see that. Isn't that a? That's a Mikkel special. That one. That's a clipper. It's a clipper thing, is it not? Without the input shaper, you can do it. I have neither time nor the money to compete in the speedboat race. What is the build size? It's a 300 by 300 by 300 millimeter cube. I mean, I think you probably squeeze it to like 305, 310 if you're really feeling optimistic. But really, it's 300. That's the quoted build size. If you get a roll of the same filament they use to print the printer parts, a copy of their settings, you'll be able to compare your prints against RapRig's printed parts. I could, but I'm not sure there's really much to gain from doing that. I think I kind of know what good parts look like. Oh, excuse me. I don't know how many orders people have put through RapRig now, but judging by how busy they are, things are looking good over there. So hopefully there's lots of more great things to come out of this machine. I think one of the good things about custom machines like this and the printed parts and all that kind of stuff is things do get better over time, which might sound sort of negative, is kind of implying that things are not good now, which is not true. But it means, unlike things like, I don't know, your standard Creality machines or other, I don't know, artillery and stuff like that, like you buy the machine and that's kind of it. What you have then is what you get. If any changes are going to happen, you pretty much have to do them yourself, or you find them random places on the internet. Whereas I feel like there seems to be potentially some I don't think we've had any fixed commitments, but because it's open source, I think there's a fair chance we can expect firmware upgrades or changes or updates, part design changes and updates and things that could be useful or interesting. Additional components that will fit your printer, like the top enclosure and your ability to add panels and things like that. So the world is your oyster. There really is quite good potential. Potential is such a bizarre word to use because it means like you think it can go a long way, but the implication of saying it has potential is that you think it's rubbish as it is. It's like the typical school report. You can't write a report about someone that says they're terrible, but you can say they've got a lot of potential, which basically means they're rubbish. Oh dear. I want to order one, but I don't have any way to print ABS and they don't offer it. I want to enclose the printer and PET won't work for that. I'm sure, I don't know if Mikhail is still in the chat, but I would be surprised if they're not looking at printing ABS parts. As far as I can tell, they have a lot of demand, and a lot of demand generally means a lot of commentary and feedback and desires from customers as well. So if you have cardboard, you can enclose a printer. If you have cardboard, you can also burn your house down. They are looking into ABS parts indeed, of course. This is the thing, because they're very good on their open source, they're very they're active in the community. They don't just kind of want a community to be there to do all the support for them and then just ignore anything that they want. They're kind of actively engaging, so it's a bit of give and take. Obviously, people want to help each other, so it's nice that you've got a good community around the printer. Everyone's helping everyone make really cool machines. And at the same time, Ratrig's in there and getting feedback and talking to people to make sure that things move forward and progress, to get more people involved, get more people helping. The whole thing just kind of snowballs into a really good outcome. Oh, it's making me so thirsty sitting in this room because it's so warm. I do apologise that you can't really see me as well. I feel like I'm hiding. But really, it's not me you want to see, is it? It's the printer, let's be honest. This is what you want to see. This juicy goodness. Is it a room with no windows? It does have a window, but it's kind of blocked. It's not like completely blocked, but it's over there and there's like stuff, because this room's just so full of printing stuff. The window just doesn't get much access. The spool head. It just replaces my head. Would someone in the community be able to print some ABS parts to help out? I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for anyone there. But you might be able to ask in the Discord if someone's willing to do that for you. If you can find someone maybe close to you, maybe would be the best way to do it. I don't know if they kind of support or agree with doing any business transactions in there, so I can't make any promises. It's funny, isn't it, how when there's a printer moving, I just don't have to do anything. As long as there's a printer moving, there's going to be 140 people here. That's all I need to do. I just shut up and play a printer. Play a printer? get a printer moving, and we're all good. That connector is looking quite close to the rail, isn't it? Is it sitting on it? Oh, no, it's not really close at all. That's really weird. On the camera, it looks like that thermistor wire is almost resting on the rail. In reality, it's about 20 millimeters away. Unholy Mass says, thinking of maybe going for a clipper build as well, or upgrade this and do a comparison after the initial review of the stock build. I'm going to have to do a review because I have promised it already. So that will definitely be happening. It might take a little while because this is quite a complex machine. There's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot to talk about. But after that, I don't know. It depends where we're all at the time. We might. I mean, there's so many things we could be doing. It's difficult. I find it really, really difficult actually to pick what to work on next, especially as it can take a little time for me to like get into something, start learning about it, get to a point where I feel I can talk to other people about it. Because if I start talking about it and I don't fully understand it, I feel like it's a bit misleading. I don't want to say something that's then not true. It takes a lot of time and learning to kind of get to a point where you can make a decent video about stuff. I feel like, anyway. So it makes it really difficult for me to choose what I'm going to work on, especially if then somebody else creates a really good video about it, like 2 weeks before I'm ready to do it, and it's like, or even a week before, even a few days before. It's like, well, now everyone's going to see theirs instead of mine. It's like, mostly wasted. It can be a bit demoralising sometimes. But I mean, who knows? We could be doing all sorts of things. I mean, this has taken quite a few number of weeks just to get through this. So, but this is kind of, I mean, of all the YouTube things, this is probably my favourite bit, building stuff and running stuff for the first time. Because I'm not a big fan of editing videos. I mean, now there's Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus support in Clipper. Oh, is there? Is that just come out? Because there wasn't a couple of weeks ago, was there? No, it must be new. Awesome Rat Rig community on Discord with everyone supporting everyone. This is probably one of the most robust self-assembly printer available. Future for Rat Rig looks very good. I've had my printer for a couple of months now. I still find myself just sitting there watching it print. Yep, that happens a lot. I understand it's not a machine you really want to take apart and start again. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I mean, if I was to try and upgrade this to ABS parts, that would be largely taking it apart and starting again. But how many hours have I done now? So if we say I've probably done maybe 5 hours or something off stream, and then 11 episodes of 2.5 hours each. So let's just say 10 plus 7.5, 10, 25, 30, 33 hours. Is it really that much? Plus this one that we're doing today. So something around 30 to 35 hours. It would not take me anything like that time to build this myself. Like, without the live stream, I mean. It wouldn't be, especially for doing this for a second time, you already have in your head what you've got to do. There's not that many parts that are that difficult or that different. The instructions would basically be reminders for the more complex parts, and like orders of things to put stuff in, but I think rebuilding it would be quite quick. You wouldn't even necessarily need to take it all to pieces and stuff and put it all back together. The frame, for example, took a huge amount of time, and now that it's together, you don't really need to change it. When you need to change something, like you don't need to take off the whole rail and take all of this off. You just need to take off the parts so you can get the part, like the printed part, out, put stuff onto it and put it back in. Like, you don't have to take the whole thing to individual pieces just to change all the parts. I mean, the big downside or difficulty with changing control boards is there's so many connectors and wires you have to redo. And obviously I set up all the wiring and lengths all for this one control board. So, I mean, the easiest way might even be to just create little extensions for everything, but even that would take quite a long time. I mean, it's not that long really, but creating like very short little cable extensions is not the most thrilling thing in the world. How are we looking? There's definitely a bit of a string coming off the bow of the boat for some reason. Ow. Don't mind me, I'm just trying to work out where the different noises are coming from that I can hear. Pavel and Mikhail, I did actually, I watched that live stream that you did before. It's quite, it's quite entertaining. I think I actually watched it one evening, like after a live stream. No, kind of me. Because I would have fallen asleep and gone to bed. Because I ended up watching like most of your live stream, I think. Obviously not when it was live. I watched the recorded one afterwards. Still interesting to hear from it. The problem with an ever-evolving system, you keep printing new parts just when you think you had everything. Yeah, there's definitely a bit of a balance, isn't there? You don't want something that's always changing, but you do want improvements. If there's changes every week, then you end up with the problem that everyone is so different and there's no standard like configuration, and it starts to feel like nobody knows what's going on. But if you have like every few months, like a good size release, maybe something like that. Direct metal laser sintered parts, I probably wouldn't recommend, to be honest. It's just not worth it. You're really not going to gain anything. It's going to be extortionately expensive unless you have access to a free one at work or something. And for the gantry, it'll make it heavier. You'll have probably some problems with tolerances. The parts are designed to be printed out of plastic, so print them out of plastic. Really, honestly, it's not worth going to. If you try and make it more complicated for yourself, and I'm not saying you're not capable, but there's nothing to be gained if you see what I mean. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, realistically, obviously, you need to test it to make bold claims about what's going to work and what isn't. But I can't see huge benefits. Semantic versioning. What do we call semantic versioning? Oh, software-based versioning numbers. Attend the funeral of V6 and MGM-15. I mean, I don't know if you'll have been following some things on Twitter, but I think some people have started to see what's coming next from E3D. There seem to be some beta testers with such things in hand. I believe James, if he's still here, might be one of those people. They have a next thing, and some people have said it looks pretty fancy. I kind of want one, but I'm not in their beta group. At the same time, I'm not sure if I want to be. It's cool to have things early, but to have the responsibility of testing somebody else's stuff prior to release can just be a bit of a pain in the ass. I guess it's different when it's trying to be a business versus when it's trying to be a hobby. How you do? Oh my god. You're so sneaky. Is this why Pavel's so strongly opinionated about the V6? Because he knows that there's something better. It's got to be, isn't it? It's the only way. After MGN-15, you just stick with MGN-12. 15mm rails are huge for printing. I think 12's plenty. If I do ever go back to just doing design, like engineering job, and 3D printing just as a hobby on the side, then I'll probably join some betas then. If I can. If anyone will have me. That would be when it's more interesting, when it's too stressful having betas when you just want to make stuff. It's weird how YouTube calculates the average watch time, by the way. The average watch time on this stream is apparently 9 minutes. It just seems bizarre. The NDI sign says I can't share anything. I know. You probably shouldn't have told us you signed an NDA to say you can't say anything, though. We won't talk about it, it's all right. NDAs, no, don't acknowledge. Not sure that's quite how it works. Oh, this is taking ages because it's 0.2, isn't it? Not 0.3. I should have done it on 0.3. That would have been a little bit faster. No, deny anything. Now doing announcement. Hello? Is that okay? That sounds a little bit high. I thought I charged the wireless mics, but I don't think I did. Goodbye, Unholy Mass. Thank you for joining us. That's actually better than before. Oh, is the sound of plugging in and unplugging. Apologies. Does it sound better than before? Does it really? I guess that's the cost of wireless microphones, isn't it? See if I can listen to this myself. The sound of plugging in and unplugging. Apologies. Does it really sound much different? Sounds much better. Huh. Spent all this money going for wireless microphones and they just ruin your audio signal. Oh. Nobody told me all this time it sounded like rubbish. Oh dear. It's kind of annoying really. Because I wanted these, because it's so much more flexible to have the wireless microphones. At the moment, I mean, it looks like I'm peaking. The convenience of having these is just night and day. Especially for live streams when I occasionally need to get up and move around. Before I just had this big dangly long cable, which it worked, but I was consciously, well, I was always conscious of it because I was literally plugged in directly. To be fair, I did test things offline and I couldn't hear, I mean, when did I do testing? What did I test? That's the question. I do remember testing something, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think I tested that it worked. I don't know. I know Tom uses the other Rode wireless system. Maybe I should splash on that. That's so expensive. This was a lot cheaper, and I guess that's what you get. I suppose if you get a lot more background noise, then that's not necessarily better, is it? Maybe these wireless things are doing some audio processing at the same time. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's that quiet. I can definitely hear. Oh, speaking of, I think this is done. It has been for a while. That's been done for a little while. Ooh. See what I mean? I'm plugged in. It's gonna it just gets tugged on everything. You hear different things depending on where you stand in. There's some resonance going on something. Cool, I can... The heat and that weird PETG smell. It's just significantly hotter up here in the room than it is below the printer. I wonder if I go into the Zoom H1 and then transmit over the Rode, if that... I'm transmitting over the road into the Zoom H1, whereas I could do it the other way around. No, so I had... So what I tested before is whether it's worth having the difference between... Yeah, because what I used to do, I used to have this, the Rode Wireless Go plugged into the camera. And it goes over the Camlink 4K, which is how you use the DSLR through HDMI, da-da-da-da-da. And that's what causes the weird robotic noises, that Camlink thing. And I think the audio interface is also not super great for that. So I tested moving from that to just plugging into the microphone port on the computer through the Rode Wireless, and then doing the same thing on the front port, and then doing the same thing on the Zoom H1. That's what I tested last time. So all instances use the wireless, but it's just going into different interfaces. And of all of those, using the Zoom H1 definitely sounded the best. This is so old as well, by the way, now. It's actually crazy. They have an H1N, or probably even an H2 or something by now. I think I got this one just as they were finishing this version when I started the channel. This is the very first audio thing I owned. When was that? 2016? I think, something like that. 6 years. I think you need to tighten some screws. Yeah, I'm pretty sure when I did all the screw tightening, I did them as tight as they could go without breaking the parts. I think some noise comes from that little nib on the BL Touch. Some of it's going to be fans. It's very difficult to identify exactly where things can sounds coming from. The printer sounds like my printer 3 rooms away with 2 closed doors between us. It doesn't, it's not, we've got a decibelometer. It won't be a super scientific test. But I do normally do this for all the other printers that I do the unboxing, build, review shenanigans. So from about a 1 meter-ish distance. So from about that distance is averaging somewhere in the region of 50 decibels. Adam's wearing shorts, can't blame me, it's been damn hot in the UK today. I've been wearing shorts for weeks now. And yes, today was absolutely crazy hot, wasn't it? Even by like 10 AM this morning, it was hot. It's just bizarre weather. H1s, they're just so good. It's so cheap and so good. I'm not much of an audio nerd, to be honest, at all, but I do really like it when... The thing is with audio equipment, it's really difficult to just find things that are good. I don't mean it like that. I mean, I would have more expensive gear if I knew it was good before getting it and I knew what that sound difference was and could really take advantage of it. I think part of the problem for me is I have no sound treatment in this room at all. So it's all, I mean, there's a lot of kind of stuff in here, so I guess the sound doesn't reverberate quite as bad as an empty room. But at the same time, some deadening would probably improve the quality more than buying really expensive audio interfaces. Is Z-Hop enabled in this print? Yep, 0.4 millimeters. You should be able to see it. Maybe the compression and blurriness of the YouTubes prevents that. Oh, it did just buffer a little bit. What are we up to? Nearly 2 hours and 30 minutes overall. Forecasted to be 40 Celsius in California. Let me tell you, my Ender 3 in the garage doing great printing ABS during the day. 40 Celsius. See, the big difference between 40 Celsius in California and 40 Celsius in the UK is that you'll have air conditioning. Now, I know it's still stonking hot and really humid. So I'm not saying it's easier, but at least you have, when you get home, you have this cold haven of air-conditioned rooms that you can appreciate. Nobody in the UK has air conditioning. Some people do, but it's very rare. Just listen to what Curtis Judd or Caleb Pike says. Yeah, I do. Curtis Judd, I watch all of his all of his audios. It's so expensive that I just can't afford it, really. And again, I think the sound treatment of the room would be more valuable than buying the gear at this point. Are there any advantages for using Z-Hop with PETG? It's just become a thing that I use. I can't even remember why you put it on there initially. I mean, it stops knocking things when you get a bit of curling, moving around. I think it helps prevent some stringing as well, doesn't it? Because you get that kind of extra purge blob as the nozzle moves away. I think we've probably heard enough, thanks Sean. Photography, videography, audio is so expensive. 3D printing has nothing in comparison, yeah. The amount of stuff you can get for your money in 3D printing is just astronomical compared to audio equipment. The stream looks like it's starting to buffer, doesn't it? Is everyone else getting that? It might just be my YouTube preview. Z-Hop is awesome to help wear out your Z-axis nuts. Yeah, that may also be true. Oh, by the way, I think I talked about Delrin being self-lubricating, and I've come to learn that it's not. So I don't know if I mentioned this already. The Delrin or POM, or very similar to acetyl, is the black material that the lead screw nuts are made out of in this printer. And I always thought it was self-lubricating, but it's not. It has a very low coefficient of friction, which means it's kind of very slippery sort of thing. Like, it means it's low friction. But it doesn't mean that it's self-lubricating, which should be obvious. I don't know where I got kind of confuzzled in that. I don't know where I'd come across the notion that it was self-lubricating. It's not. It's just low coefficient. So it does still need grease. The good thing is, though, Delrin is very resistant to chemicals and greases. So pretty much anything, provided the grease itself is suitable for the temperatures and whatnot, pretty much any grease should be okay. There you go. We got a new duct, boys and girls. Right in the middle of the screen where no one can see it. Good job, Adam. There you go. Printed out of ABS. It's all very thin, so we've got to be a little bit careful. Oh, that came off nice and easily. The thing I like about ABS is the ability to work with it. Like it cuts nicely, you can like sand it sort of. This is eSun ABS. It's ABS Plus. I don't know what the... Well, I know what the plus means. There's other stuff in it. I just don't know what that other stuff is. It seems to be a fair bit easier to print than standard ABS. So I don't know how the temperature resistance is impacted. According to the data sheets, or the technical information I should say, rather than the actual data sheet, according to that, it's not really affected. They're still suggesting that it's the same temperature resistance as ABS. And it's definitely not ASA. Well, it might be combined with, but it's not solely ASA. Because the layer adhesion is pretty good. So we've got a nice new little duct there we can add on at some point. Did you turn the speed way down for first print? No, not really. That was just Pavel's settings. There are blends of Delrin which include lubricating additives, but these release with wear, so you need wear to get lubrication. I see. Yes, that would be more of a self-lubricating bearing. Bushing, whatever it is. 3D Gusner, we've missed you. Good to have you back. You're just in time for the very end of the last stream. How much time have we got left on this print? What do we reckon? Somewhere around 5 minutes. This is actually the first eSun filament I've ever used, this ABS. I have generally avoided eSun or other Asian brands because I fear that their quality would be poor, because I've been burned by that in the past, buying spools of filament, and then they're just absolute garbage. But eSun's ABS so far is looking pretty promising. Oh, we should do the other sponsor spot. Quick 2 minutes. Hopefully that'll be back before the stream ends. Quick, let's go. This live stream would not have been possible without our sponsors, Ratrig, Duet 3D and 3D Printz. The Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus balances value and performance. It's focused on small and medium-sized machines for those that want the quality and reliability of a Duet control board, but don't want the high price or high power output of the full-size Duet 3 mainboard. The Mini 5 Plus provides 5 onboard drivers and the normal complement of heaters, fans, I/O, etc. There are Wi-Fi and Ethernet variants with the option of using a single board computer, like a Raspberry Pi, for control, in the same manner as you might with other Duet 3 boards. 3D Printz is a UK-based filament supplier, but in recent times have become so much more. They're now a great destination for finding name brand components from all over the world, such as the Antlabs BL Touch, Wham Bam Systems, flexible build plates, 3D Gloop, Magico, Bondtech, Slice Engineering and more. If you're in the UK and Europe, and maybe further afield too, you might want to check out their shop for your next printer upgrade. In the UK, you'll also be able to take advantage of their free shipping for orders over £50. Ratrig is a company that you may not have heard of yet, but if you're into DIY 3D printers, or camera sliders, then we're going to change that today. The VCore 3 is a fully configurable CoreXY 3D printer kit. It's gone through several iterations over the years, and all the knowledge and lessons learned have been distilled into the VCore 3. MGN linear rails, low vibration idlers, robust 3030 extrusion frame, and 9mm belts are just some of the key selling points. Today I'm looking at the 300mm cube default configuration, but it's also available in 400mm and 500mm cubes for those that like their printers big, and with lots of configuration options too. Keep watching to find out more, or if you need more details immediately, you can find the links in the video description. Good. Right, let's get back to it. Getting really close to the end of the print. The slices, well, the info view is suggesting somewhere around a couple of minutes left. I don't know why the filament usage is displaying in minutes and seconds. That doesn't really make sense. And file progress, surely that should be in percentage. Weird. Anyway. Here come the bridge tests, but we are only running constant filament, constant fan speed. There is quite a lot of string, but I do want to preface that with I wouldn't take that to be a reflection entirely of the printer. It's down to slicer profile, which obviously could be improved, and which you could also argue is down to rat rig too, at least in part. Although, with so many possible configurations, there's a bit of a tough job, that one, potentially impossible. And of course the filament, which has been sitting around for a year, and although PETG doesn't tend to absorb a lot of moisture, a little bit of drying before printing can help with those, just the little wispy bits. Right, I think this is probably going to be the last rat rig stream as well. I don't think there's any major plans for continuing live streams on this now. It's now time for me to print a bunch of stuff. If you have messaged me on Discord or tag things for me to print in Discord, I would carry on doing that. Give me a bunch of stuff that I can print for testing. If there's things that you want to see printed, give it a go. Obviously, size permitting, I'm not going to print stuff that takes 10 kilos of filament. It's just impractical. But go ahead, share with things that you'd like to see printed. It's always, I'd say things are difficult. I feel like I'm moaning about everything, but picking things to print is almost as difficult as picking the audio to use in a video. It's one of those things that you can just, there's so many options, just so spoilt for choice. You go on whatever file sharing website and you've got literally thousands of options. You're like, I don't know what to pick. And then you start designing your own. It's like, why am I designing my own? It's like reinventing the wheel. Somebody's already done this, surely. Torture toaster. I hear you loud and clear. Someone wants to see Cali Cat, I saw earlier. No printing a solid infill 300 cube calibration cube. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be. Yeah, it might be a bit limited on the technical analysis on that. I'm not sure there's much we can learn from printing a solid block of plastic. Yeah, Eastman's that bust of the character, which is one I keep doing. Deadpool. Oh, it's such a nice print. Eastman.xyz, I believe, is the website. I did calculation during development to be sure the bed assembly could handle that much filament. Yep, somebody's got to check, haven't they? Just in case, because there's going to be that one guy that comes along and prints a solid blooming cube of plastic. Aztec death whistle. That sounds a little bit... I mean, I don't know what it is. If it's a little bit kinky and weird, then maybe not. But if it's kind of a normal thing that's actually a whistle... See, I'm actually writing these things down. Oh, you can't really see, but I am writing them down. You're the numbers guy. Simon is the numbers guy. I'm a bit the numbers guy as well. When I was working as full-time engineer, that's all anyone would ask me. Can you calculate this? Can you work out how this works? If I do this, how can I do that? What's the maximum you can do on this if this is like that? If it's family friendly, we'll probably try it. It's going to be weird not having more live streams to do, isn't it? You're not going to have anything to do. Probably going to be a while before I finish with you, I'm going to be totally honest. I've got to work out how it's in my head how to say all the things. I might have to cut down. I tend to try and get too much into detail when I do a review. Like we're talking about, the threads on these screws are just not great. It's like, who cares? There's a line in there. It's like, how much information do I really need, and how much information can I show that I found? You can find 1,000 things wrong with something that's really absolutely fine. Especially if you're hypercritical unnecessarily, like I am. Mikhail, don't you dare blame me for you not getting stuff done. That's on you. You didn't even join on time. You can't blame me. Cheeky bugger. I missed most of the stream. Did you do any noise comparison? I did do a quick noisy thing. It was about 50 decibels from about a meter. A solid 300mm PLA cube is 33.5 kilograms of filament. I'm going to double check that. I get a different number. So going off the maximum, I mean, it seems cruel that I'm even doing this now. So density of PLA obviously is going to vary, but it looks like at a maximum of 1.43 grams per centimeter cubed. Comes out to 38.6 kilos. But obviously, if you use different density, you'll get a slightly different result. Assuming 1.24. Yeah. I guess I've just looked up natural PLA, not natural, naturally occurring, but pure PLA. Whereas obviously once you're in a filament, you've got other stuff in there. You can take the density of the filament rather than just the challenge. Do not challenge the numbers, man. I'm not suggesting you're wrong. I'm suggesting that there's more than one correct answer. I'm going to miss these streams too. Maybe I'll find some random stuff we can do. The trouble is I can't really modify it too much before the review, so maybe we can just create a 2-hour print and I'll just sit here while we watch it print something for 2 hours. $155 kilos. Beat you to it, Simon. Nah, 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 nah. That's a lot. So, on average, price of what? Maybe like £25 a kilo. You're looking at £3,875 to do a 500ml cube of plastic. Here we go. Oh, nice big stringy ooze at the end. It's the hair. All boats have hair, we all know this. So also remember that this is not a 100% scale benching. This is a 90% scale benching because I couldn't be bothered to wait the extra 30 minutes. And this is very hot. Well, the print is not. The rest of it is. So a nice project on Hackaday where a microcontroller can read the YouTube live chat. Would be great to have it, and the chat could trigger the host to pay attention to the chat. You saying I'm not paying enough attention to the chat? What did I do before? How did I grab this off the bed? Because I did, didn't I? Oh yeah, I hold the print. And then we hold the print for a little bit while the bed cools down. The print's already obviously solid, so it's not going to make a difference. Just waving my bed around to try and cool it down, as you do. I would flexor plate, but it's still extortionately hot, and I don't want to burn my hands, thank you very much. Yeah, this noise is not a noise of quality, unfortunately. Yes, magnetic beds have a Curie temperature, but there's also a lower temperature. So there are temperatures at which it starts to lose magnetism, and there are temperatures at which it completely loses magnetism. So, right. Is this? I mean, the fact that we've had 2 successful prints, nothing came unstuck from the bed, no jams, no problems at all, really. We've just gone and printed 2 prints straight off. It's almost like I've prepared. I like prime lines, but I also hate prime lines. Purge lines, whatever you want to call them. God damn it. I think maybe we could do the purge line a little bit further from the bed because it gets a little bit too stuck. There we go. Let's get that bed back on here. I mean, the advantage of the thinner sheet bed like this is that literally a few seconds, it seems like, after it's back on the bed, it's already hot. Oh, it just goes straight through. So, again, I would say not perfect, but I would also say very, very good. Let's have a nice close-up of this. And we missed. See, now I need to go around the other side, but I'm attached to the microphone. Boo, 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 boo. There we go. It's a boat, it's a boat. It's a benchy, benchy boat. It looks better to me than it does on camera. It's a little bit wispy, but the bow is absolutely fantastic. It's almost perfectly formed. I don't know what weird thing is going on with halfway up the chimney. That looks a bit bizarre. And the total print time was like 1 hour and 10 minutes. This was not a speed benchy. It does look like something changed partway up the chimney, doesn't it? It's a little bit weird. Text at the back, I mean, it's never going to look great, is it? It's ridiculously tiny details on a really tiny boat. I mean, this... it is actually really rather good. And I am trying to look past the stringing, to be fair. The stringing is not great, but what can you do? I don't think this is entirely down to the printer. I think the unavoidable aspects of the printer, which we wouldn't be able to change at this point, are looking pretty darn good. Up-thumbed. Both thumbs. Well, it looks like it under extruded, but then it looks like the bottom half of the chimney has less filament than the top half of the chimney. Pretty sure that chimney's... yeah, the top third is different and the bottom 2/3 should be the same, where it looks like my chimney is divided into 3/3. There's a bottom third, a middle third and a top third. Sometimes you can tell with by looking at volumetric flow rates and speed graphs to see where you get weird anomalies. But you can see volumetric flow rates roughly the same. Oh, wrong button. Speed is consistent. Fan speed is obviously the same all the way. Volumetric flow rate, we already looked at. There's nothing there that's, don't know, a bit weird. Part 5 is get rid of Z-hop. What's part 6, Pavel? Check if the lead is not binding anywhere. You know what? That's a really good shout. Especially lead screw binding. I mean, we can tell, well, I can certainly tell, that as you move a long way, you can tell that the bearings kind of start to get dry, they start to sound different, they start to move a bit differently. Well, not really move differently, but you can tell that there's just not enough lube. You need more lube. I think that very thin oil I put on was, unsurprisingly, too thin. So we're going to go for something a little bit greasier on these, on the lead screws. They can definitely handle it because there's no like little moving bearings which need to roll around. It is all just sliding contact. So I think a big dollop of thick grease will help things immensely on the lead screws. Yeah, I have found that aligning the lead screws has been difficult. I have actually tried to improve that between the last stream and this one because I noticed moving them up and down, but they're very difficult to get perfectly vertically aligned to how they're supposed to be, especially the rear one. Right, that's going to be it then. Thank you very much to everyone for joining me for all these RatRig VCore 3 live streams. Of course, a big thank you to the sponsors. Oh, can we get this on stream? Come on, Adam, be at least a little bit professional. Oh, let's try that again. Let's bring the camera around here. There we go. This is now a really intimidating camera. So yes, big thank you to everyone for watching and everyone that stuck around through all these 12 streams. Hopefully it's been really helpful for you. Big thank you, of course, to the sponsors of the stream. Of course, you've got the main printer, which is the RatRig VCore 3 from, of course, RatRig. Duet 3D for providing the Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus and Mini 2 Plus expansion board. And 3D Printz. All of them big help in making sure that we can do this print build. Making sure we can build the printer over the series of episodes. So, that's going to be it. The end of all 12 streams. All done and dusted. Feels weird saying goodbye now, doesn't it? Goodbye forever. No, so I don't think we're going to be doing any live streams. If I come up with something that I think would be worth doing on a live stream that I need to do before the review, then we'll try and find a way to do that. But that's probably quite unlikely. There might be other live streams starting though. But yeah, the next time you'll see this machine, I expect will be the full review. But I would expect probably at least 6 weeks, maybe a couple of months. It takes quite a long time. So don't sit there waiting for it to come out. It will be a little while. There's quite a lot for me to run over and decide whether I like or dislike or comment on. So all that kind of stuff. A big thank you, actually, of course, to Pavel, Mikhail and Simon for helping everyone, answering all the questions. It's been great having you three around. So thank you very much. And of course, thank you everyone else for joining in, talking and chatting and whatever. It's been really good fun. So that's it for me today and for a while. Pavel's doing a live stream. Pavel, do you want to share your link for... You said you were going to go and do a cube. If you want to share a link, if you're still doing that now, probably a good time. And everyone can jump over there if you want to see. Personally, I need to go to bed because I'm super tired. There you go. Link for Pavel. You can go and watch what he's going to do now. Oh, have we been going for 3 hours? Yes, time to go. Rightio. Cheerio, everyone. Hope you have a good evening or day or whatever where you are. And I shall see you in the next one.